All right, let's kick it off. Welcome everybody to the MapStore in Action Cleveland Metroparks demonstration. We are joined today by special guests Laura Schutch and Tom Kraft from Cleveland Metroparks. We'll start with a brief intro, and I'll pass it off to Alessandro Cristofori, who is our support lead for MapStore. He'll go through some product details, and then we'll pass it off to Tom and Laura to demonstrate the great work they've done at Cleveland Metroparks with MapStore. As a brief introduction, for those of you not familiar with GeoSolutions, GeoSolutions is comprised of the core code developers and core code committers for GeoServer, GeoNode, and MapStore, as well as open source tools such as GeoTools and all the input-output plugins and associated interoperability protocols such as WMS, WFS, etc. Sometimes in the open source side of things, users don't really know where to go for technical support beyond community pages. This is where we exist, where we live to help you out. You'll see GeoSolutions personnel active in the support communities for each of the products we support. But for reliable commercial support, custom development, professional training directly from the core developers, that is the business GeoSolutions is in. A look at the products that we support. So you see GeoServer, MapStore, and GeoNode. GeoServer is an open source server written in Java that allows users to share, process, and edit geospatial data. It's designed for interoperability and publishes data from any major spatial data source using open standards. GeoNode is a geospatial content management system, platform for the management of publication geospatial data. It brings together mature and stable open source software projects under a consistent, easy-to-use interface, allowing for non-specialized users to share data and create interactive maps. And the product we're focusing on today is MapStore. MapStore is an open source, highly modular web GIS framework developed by GeoSolutions. It is used to create, manage, and share maps, dashboards, and stories created by mixing geospatial contents served from sources like OpenStreetMap, Bing, or from servers adhering to OGC standards like WFS, CSW, WMS, WMTS, etc. We offer enterprise support services, deployment subscriptions, customized solutions, custom development, and professional training for these products. And the main point that I want to drive home is if you ever have any questions related to anything open source, geospatial related, feel free to reach out to us. We're always here to help out. Our global coverage and customer base, we work globally, so we support customers all over the globe, as you can see here from the map. From maritime security, where we work with European Maritime Safety Agency to track approximately 200,000 moving vessels through transponder positions verified with Sentinel and other satellite imagery sources, to meteorological oceanographic operations, moving massive data from satellite to end user applications. Anything involving complex dynamic spatial temporal data and all of the quote unquote plumbing, from sensor to database to end user viewing applications. That's our niche, and that's the specialty of GeoSolutions. You see here some sectors that we work in, and the main point here is that we've, from smart cities to precision agriculture, oil and gas, local government, we've seen all types of different unique setups and operations with different databases, whether it's PostGIS, AWS, Azure, whatever your configuration might be. To steal a line from that old insurance commercial, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two, and we've been in the business for 15, 16 years. So any type of operation you have involving moving data or just working with an open source product such as GeoServer, GeoNode, we're here to help out with any of the configuration complexities you might be having. Specifically for local governments, we're also announcing an introductory local government plan, which includes training, installation support, and allotment of technical support hours to get local governments up and running with GeoNode, which includes GeoServer and MapStore, with support and training, all for under 10K. So that's something to keep in mind if you're a local government looking for support for those open source products. Associations, we're active sponsors and participants of the organizations listed here. One important thing to note, FOSS4G North America is October 23 through 25 in Baltimore. If you're in the Mid-Atlantic area, registration is still open at phos4gna.org. Note that the general registration is free for all .gov, .edu, .mil, and .org attendees. And we are active sponsors of phos4g North America as well. And finally, again, if you ever have any questions related to geospatial open source software, reach out anytime. We're here to assist however we can to make sure that you get the support you need for integrating open source into your geospatial operations. So with that, I will pass it off to Alessandro.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. As Ryan already anticipated, I am the main support lead for GeoSolutions, and I actively support the Cleveland Metroparks with their MapStore instance. So I'm his main point of contact. And I was a MapStore developer myself for many years before starting supporting the product. So for those of you that don't know what MapStore is, I'm going to tell you what MapStore is, and I'm going to show you the most important features of this product. One of the first characteristics is that MapStore is a product, is a web application, is already ready for you to download, and it can be installed on servers as well as can be used locally. MapStore is a web-based open source applications that contains already some levels of customizations, very, very low level of customization specifically for its look and feel. And it also contains all the functions that most basic users need to start, visualize, manage, and share geospatial data. But the main strength of MapStore is that it can be customized to a very, very high extent. In fact, we can call it MapStore as a framework because it allows an extensive and fine level of customization. It is possible to customize the already present core plugins that are present in the main MapStore core product. You can create your own plugins that would do specific tasks that adapt to your specific environment. Those core plugins would follow the development guidelines of MapStore, but you can also develop your own extensions that would grab bits of MapStore to make some other kind of software which was web-based and map-based that would just use some bit of MapStore to do something completely new. So reaching a really high level of customization and leveraging the possibility of MapStore for being a framework for you to develop new stuff or customized software with it. So MapStore, as I said, is an open source GIS, is both an application and framework. Its main focus is allowing you to create and share maps, charts, dashboards, and geostories online. It has all modern application, web-based application characteristics. In fact, uses React.js, its main technologies. It completely supports mobile visualizations, and it has responsiveness for the displays of many types of screen sizes. As I said, tools as well as application look and feel can be customized, and they can consume data from multiple sources. As Ryan already anticipated, we have our main focus on OGC standards though. MapStore is open source, and it has a BSD commercial license, so it's commercially friendly, though being an open source software. This is just a small list of the organizations that are currently use MapStore, both as a product and as a framework. As you can see, GeoNode and GeoOrchestra, as I anticipated before, those are applications that are built on the core of MapStore, but they developed something completely new and some completely customized functions that MapStore doesn't have in its own product core distribution. So as I said, this is just a list of those, and I'm going to take you through some examples of some of these organizations, what they have done with MapStore. So in this case, we have MapStand. MapStand is one of our customers working in the energy resources field. They use MapStore as a platform for tracking energy activities. These customers had the need of a slimmed down version of MapStore to plug into their own architecture. So they were concerned about taking off some of the plugins that MapStore had, but they were also interested of enlarging the possibility of styling of spatial data that MapStore has. So they used our support in order to achieve this goal, and the results is a totally new mapping application with a lot of MapStore in the mapping parts, but a completely redesigned styling management and data integration management, because they also had the need of connecting data coming from some sort of specialized data sources. This is the example of the city of Brussels in Belgium. These customers of ours uses not quite a lot customized version of MapStore, but the most important thing to say is that they asked us to develop the integration for a Google Street View plugin that is now also available in the main MapStore product. So another thing that is really advantageous about MapStore is that when some of our customers ask us to apply an improvement, if we see that this improvement is in fact something that can be valuable to the software itself, it makes it to the product part of MapStore. One example that can also testify Laura and Tom was the work that we've done lately for the management of better management or different scale for WMTS and the support of custom projections for having tiled and cached layers. Ostro Control is a client in Austria, is a navigation air service provider. They all use the products in which they apply just a few look and feel customizations. So this is more the use of a MapStore as a product. The Arno River Basin Authority also uses MapStore as a product. Arno River Basin is an authority for the management of the waters of a river in central Italy. Again, we have City of Genova. City of Genova is a public authority in Italy for the coastal city of Genova. They roughly use the main product of MapStore, but they also had the need to develop some quite advanced authentication and authorization management systems, and we help them achieving that. Another very interesting things that we managed to do for Genova is, and they provided us support for, was the development of the latest 3D features. So Genova, City of Genova now can benefit from some sort of their 3D digital twin, which is possible to see on their website that supports completely MapStore. And most of the 3D supports that MapStore now can handle with the latest versions was subsidized from the city and the help from the help and experience of the City of Genova. Right. I'm going to take you through the main features of MapStore. So as soon as you open up MapStore, you would see this home page, and it's basically the landing page that allows you to manage and control all the MapStore resources. MapStore resources can be maps, can be geostories, and can be dashboards. We will see later on what each of these resources is. Basically, the flowing of any resource can be summarized as follows. There are different levels of users can create a resource. They are their own spatial and non-spatial data. They save the resource and they save they set the permissions. And it's possible immediately to share maps and any sort of resources, maps, geostories, and dashboard through social media, embed them already in an HTML page, and as a link for other to share with other MapStore users. So this is the focus on the map resource in MapStore. We can see that we have a timeline widget, which we can see later on what it needed for, but it's basically to explore data that has time enabled data with that. widgets. It provides infographic supports that can stand in form of charts, counters, and focus tables to explore in depth and with more granularity the attributes of your spatial data. It is possible to put annotations on maps that are not represented as spatial layers, but will help the user to understand or find the way along the spatial data that is visualized in a map. It is possible to swiftly compare data and background data with overlays with the swiping and the looking lens plugins. There are different ways of measure spatial data in 2D and in 3D. In 3D, you cannot measure just height, distances, and areas, but you've got heights, slopes, and so on and so forth. And there is quite an advanced visual stylus that is completely backed and supports from GeoServer and the SLD standard. So again, in MapStore, it will be possible to style your own data directly on the map. Okay, so dashboards is another feature of MapStore. Dashboards are the second type of content available in MapStore, the second type of resources. In Dashboard, we can use widgets that are already available in the map to create multiple maps and multiple tools connections. As we can see, we can link the attributes of data in order to create and summarize and have an insight of statistical data of your attributes and spatial data. The third type of resources are GeoStories. GeoStories helps you to combine different types of media, such as text, such as videos, and such as images, in order to create this kind of scrollable content in where users can actually link to maps, other types of media, and create basically their own story, where you as a user can create the path for the users to see and have a look at the spatial data along the way to create some sort of storytelling experience for them. And then another type of resource that are application contexts. Application contexts allow you to create and customize completely a user experience for different kinds and classes of users that you would like to use MapStore for. So you can decide whether you want to create a version of MapStore that doesn't hold all the plugins, but just a few of them. You want to create a version of MapStore that doesn't allow adding or removing data because it will be just for visualization purposes. You want to create another map that has a different color scheme from the usual MapStore color scheme, and that is possible to achieve with application contexts. MapStore has quite an extensive already in, let's say, in-house, we can call it like that, management of users' authentication authorization. It benefits from its own databases, and it has its own role. It has its own authorization model. There are admin users, anonymous users, and normal users that can do all three different things in MapStore. But one very interesting thing is that MapStore can also use other data repositories connecting with the most used authentication protocols, such as OpenID and LDAP. And Cleveland Metroparks is one of our experiences because they have their LDAP and Active Directory linked and to our MapStore, both for authentication and for authorization. So the roles that you assigned in your user repository can be retrieved and mapped to MapStore. And it is also possible, as I said before, to completely recustomize a product MapStore to create your own downstream project. So having MapStore as a base, but completely recreate the custom as you can feel, create and replace pages, creating your own plugin, extending to use a different backend than the usual ones. But really all sorts of things that you can imagine to do, MapStore gives you the opportunity to customize it. And if it's not possible to do it, GeoSolution is there to help to provide custom solutions to extend what is currently not there. And if it's a very good idea, then it will become and improve continuously the MapStore as a product. So this is, I'm surely you will receive the slides after the webinar. You will have these are the links where you can take a look at the official demo of MapStore, some user docs and the GitHub repos, also development docs and some YouTube videos that we take for previous webinars. Right, so I will go very quickly through some of the characteristics of MapStore that are part of the MapStore product in detail. So in MapStore, it is possible to print maps. It is possible to print maps in different formats, such as PDF, JPEG, and PNG. It is possible to customize completely the print layout, applying your own logo, your own text, your own credits. You can change the coordinate system of your prints that can be different from the one that you see the map in MapStore. Sometimes you have the necessity to share printed maps in a different coordinate system than the one that you normally use, and MapStore can cater for that. As I showed you earlier, it is possible in MapStore to read and support data that has the time dimension in it. As we can see in this explanatory video, we can see that we have data that is composed of time intervals. We can swipe through the time and see the layers changing according to the slices of time in which this layer is divided. And at the same time, we can create some nice animations and give some sort of dynamicity to the visualization of a time-enabled layer. Map widgets, as I showed you earlier, this is just a nice way of integrating the maps visualization with some statistical analysis on the attributes. It is possible to manipulate how you want to visualize your attributes, other than just having a chart, like for example, a bar chart with an X and a Y. You can also color code your charts to include even more granular analysis on your attributes. And again, it's possible to group and reorganize grouping for pie charts. This will be based on the data that you would normally see on the maps. They can be linked to the map viewport. Again, this is another demonstration how it's possible to group together different maps and different dashboards to create different maps and different widgets to create dashboards, which doesn't really have the focus on the map, but they really combine the power of maps and charts in order to give you some sort of dashboard visualization of your spatial data. And one really good thing is that you can also export this data and share it with other MapStore users. MapStore is enabled for editing your spatial data. You can edit vector data, you can create new features, you can modify existing geometries, and you can do it with a high level of, well, with a topological consistency, because the snapping is enabled. You can create new features as well, geometry feature as well as attribute. And yes, you can be used also for editing. Not just for consulting. Again, as I showed you earlier, as I told you earlier, MapStore can be integrated with OpenID as well with LDAP as well for controlling and having some the single sign-on facility, which means that you can log in with your Google account and be signed into MapStore. So it integrates with already present authentication providers. Google and ClickLock are just some of them. We are ready to hear from you in case you have other necessities, and we can offer that. Some work is along the way to support Oracle IAM, so it will probably be one of the next developments we will have in place. And one of the latest developments that we've done was the support of 3D data. As I said earlier, the city of Genova helped us a lot to develop these new features. MapStore can ingest a large variety of 2D data and make it 3D. Some formats are GeoJSON, 3D tiles, shape files, terrain data, and point cloud. And the ingestion of all of them makes it really easily to then manipulate in MapStore. We can style 3D data in the same way that we styled 2D data. We can query 3D data, and it will basically be aware of the fact that that 3D data is a 3D data, so it will respond according to the camera orientation, which you're currently looking at the map. And as well, it is possible to measure 3D data. So it's not just area and distances, but you can measure heights, you can measure slopes, and you can measure angles. Looking at 3D data, you may want to do some nice 3D representations. So you can show some fogs in the atmosphere to make it more realistic, and at the same time you can also enable depth tests to analyze your data, which will basically hide. Depth test is a control that allows you to kind of hide some sort of features if there is a feature in front of it. So it makes the visualization of 3D data more realistic if needed. You can check the update using developer guide at these links that you're going to have later on. And we are currently at working at the release 2023-0102. We are currently at this release. We are working for the 0200, which will be out in a few days. And that's basically all on my end. So I let Cleveland Metroparks taking place. So over to you guys. That's basically it for the main features of MapStore.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ryan, Alessandro. Every time I watch one of your webinars, I start making like lists, the timeline, plugin, data editing. These are types of things that we're going to probably want to integrate after this. So thank you. That was fantastic. All right, I'm going to share my screen.
Thank you.
Share. All right, I'm assuming everybody can see this unless I hear otherwise. Okay, so thank you so much. Again, we are very happy to share how MapStore has been a benefit to Cleveland Metroparks and the GIS team, but then also the rest of the staff and all of the public. Okay, so I'm first going to give you a little bit of context as to kind of what Cleveland Metroparks is and how we use GIS and what we want to do with GIS so that you can understand a little bit more about our MapStore implementation and some of the customizations that Alessandro already mentioned. Tom is actually going to do the demo after I get through some slides. So we are part of the GIS team. We are in planning and design. I'm Laura Hsu. I'm the GIS manager, a drone operator, and a drone program coordinator. And Tom Kraft is our GIS administrator. On the right, just to give you guys a little bit of context, if you're not familiar with Cleveland, it's on Lake Erie, which you can kind of see in that picture. This is Euclid Beach, and if you look in the distance on the picture, you're going to see the Cleveland skyline. All right, so again, just for the context, the Cleveland Metroparks were actually a county-wide park system, so it's a little bit of a misnomer. We are in Cuyahoga County, and in the map on the right, you can see we've got reservations or parks kind of throughout the county. It creates what we call an emerald necklace. But we are a political subdivision of the state of Ohio, so we are technically a government entity. We have 18 park reservations, 8 golf courses, 5 visitor centers, and we also own and operate the Cleveland Metroparks Zoo. We have almost 25,000 acres. That number kind of grows pretty much every week. We have acreage in 49 communities in Cuyahoga County and also a little bit into the county to the south of us in Hinckley Township. We have over 300 miles of trails. And this last statistic is the one that just kind of blows me out of the water. We provide over 20,000 annual nature and education programs. These are our core goals, and they aren't just something that we kind of put out there. They actually are implemented into pretty much everything we do at the Cleveland Metroparks, and even within GIS. We often think about the ways that we provide innovation, we connect people with nature, we engage with the community, we provide, sometimes the mapping is really that welcoming space for people to when they look online, to see what's going on at Cleveland Metroparks, they're going to often see a map. So that is kind of a very important piece to what we do. All right, the GIS services. As I mentioned, we are a 4-person GIS team. Throughout the park district, we actually have about 1,500 or more employees. About 650 of those are full-time, and then the rest are seasonals. So we provide GIS services to all of our employees. But we do have about 35 desktop GIS users. But the GIS team, we provide those applications for spatial data access, which obviously MapStore is a critical component of that. We also do visualizations and rendering. Brandon Garman, our cartographer, kind of is the master at that. And the 3D space within MapStore is going to be very critical for us to get that out to more people. We own and operate the drone program, and we also provide GIS development and database administration, and that's Tom's basic role. The GIS users within Cleveland Metroparks, we support them through maintaining our park-wide data layers. We support anything that desktop users might need connection to our database servers, and we also promote the best practices for GIS. And then the rest of the GIS staff, so these are the people that don't use GIS day to day, but they still need access to GIS data. So we make that data available. We provide those applications, and we answer spatially based and data-driven questions. And that's a really great way for the dashboards to help us out, because as Tom will share, there are certain questions that he gets asked a lot. And then for our external users, it helps us. MapStore has been great for sharing data with our stakeholders, and we can facilitate collaboration because we work a lot with our partner agencies within Cuyahoga County to develop different spaces and it's just a very big collaboration effort. So MapStore can be a critical role for that, for putting out information that others can access. All right, so this is basically showing you all of the different departments within the park district that we support. And like any other GIS department, we're not unique in that we provide that database mindset, right? So we have the relational databases, we can support long-term needs and multiple uses for data. We provide the context at multiple scales. We document existing conditions, and that's kind of where I'm thinking about the timeline. Plugin could be even more helpful. So those representations of reality, but also maintain the integrity of those spaces. The temporal scale, change over time. And this last point is something that I think we really have a lot of potential to continue to grow. It's presenting information in an aesthetically pleasing way, but also provides that data, the geovisualizations that seem to be incredibly popular now, and all of those analytical tools. I'm just going to talk briefly about the drone program because it kind of links back into MapStore and kind of one of our future efforts that we're going to try to do with it. We do a lot with drones. It's a growing program. We have 5 certified drone pilots. A year ago, it was only 2 certified pilots. So we're actually expanding what we're doing with drones, and finding a space for that data to live that people have access to has been kind of a challenge here at the Metroparks. So I'm really excited with the way MapStore can do that, whether it's just, I'll show you in a second, kind of a map of where we've flown, like had drone flights. I mean, that's great, but also using that 3D space to see how we can actually show the flight path of the drones and help people to understand what they're looking at when they're looking at drone imagery. All right, so this is a graphic that shows on the left-hand side, it's all of the different applications and products that we use internally to provide this GIS data to our staff and to the public. And on the right-hand side, you're seeing some of those the products that are out there in the public sphere. And then in the graphic in the middle is showing how MapStore kind of combines these two, because our internal staff are definitely, they're using it, but then we've also got the public that can access it at a level that's appropriate for them to have access to. So MapStore has been integral in making sure that that's possible and keeping it in a secure environment. On the left-hand side, I'm not going to go through all of those because you should know what some of those are. The top 2, however, are mobile data collection applications. If you're not familiar with Fulcrum or Mergent Maps, Mergent Maps is open source. So we're excited to see kind of how both of those can help us out with some of our initiatives. At the bottom of that list, what that's called the print server, that's actually what MapStore is replacing for us. And the print server was beloved. People loved what it was, but it was hard coded. So it was our internal web mapping application, but it just became outdated. It wasn't secure anymore. So we had to kind of take it off of the public realm. And we're looking to retire that and replace it with MapStore. So what are the challenges that we have faced? One of the things that is a problem for our park district, and this might be similar to a lot of organizations, is we have varying access to the internet in different locations. When I showed you that map of Cuyahoga County and where all of our parks are, our staff they're located throughout the county, and we don't have consistent internet. So one of the things that we have done and what GeoSolutions has helped us with is the customization to make sure that we are optimizing the experience for our users. So they helped us kind of on the back end, what can we do in the database? What can MapStore? How can that be customized? So that's actually been very, very beneficial for us because it's kind of put us in a place where now we are ready to present MapStore to our staff and to really embark on training. Levels of access, Alessandro already mentioned the LDAP configuration. So that actually gives us that ability to control who has access to what. And it uses something that's already implemented within the Metro Park. So we didn't have to come up with yet another login for our staff. Mobile access. The images I'm showing you actually came from my iPhone. The first one, this actually shows the responsive design of MapStore, which I really love and appreciate because I have a strong history and background in field data collection. So being able to access data in the field is going to be incredibly important to our initiative, which is utility and asset mapping. So we want for all of our staff, because we have a lot of field staff, if you can imagine, that need to be able to see data, what's going on in the field when they're in the field. So if they have a phone, they can just go to MapStore and boom, they've got their information in their hands. The middle image is just showing you kind of what that looks like when we put in a base map. On the right, this is actually an example. It might not look that pretty, but I was out there doing drone flights. Every place where you see a star, that was actually an annotation that I put into a MapStore map. And that was a spot that in the office I looked because we had to do a drone flight in a very urban area. You can see that there's freeways around and you're not allowed to stand anywhere you want with a drone. So we wanted to identify where could we stand while we were out in the field, but still see those parcel boundaries and have a better, situational awareness of the safety. So MapStore was critical for the use in the field for that. And then the two bottom things, they do not have an asterisk. So the top three with the asterisks are things that GeoSolutions has helped us with. The bottom two are kind of our own struggles that we have to deal with. We currently still have some disconnected data sources that we're working through. So one of our initiatives is to create an enterprise level GIS, and then also change management. As I mentioned, a lot of our users really liked the old print server. So we are kind of going to have a big push to get them to use MapStore. All right, so this is the implementation. This is the diagram that GeoSolutions provided us. I don't have actually a whole lot to say. I actually wasn't here and I'm not the technical expert. So I don't know, Tom, if you want to jump in and say anything about this.
Actually, it's a lot more fun just to show the front end. But thank you, Alessandro, for helping us set this up.
Yeah, okay. All right, so as I mentioned, utility and asset mapping. This is one of our big 5-year-long projects. So we have kind of a lot to do with this. On the left-hand side, you're seeing our GPS unit. So we are actually going to be going out there in the field. On the right side, this is from QGIS. This is an example of some of the challenges we have with our data. We have a lot of CAD data. This is actually within the zoo. And we've got layers upon layers of projects, in different spaces that have been transformed at different time periods. We've got data from all different spaces. So we need to kind of bring that all together. And we're going to use GIS, of course, as that means to do that. And then MapStore is going to be the way that the staff has access to that spatial data and also tabular data out in the field so that they can look things up and they can, open up the attribute table, do some filters and kind of see what they need to see. Another future effort is the drone data integration. So this is a map of our drone flights in the last 6 months. And in the blue circles, those are the places that we are restricted for flying, where we have to get an FAA authorization. So this is kind of a really quick way for not only our drone pilots to look that information up, but also anybody in the Metroparks that wants for our drone team to do a flight. They can look and see, oh, is this flight going to be within one of those restricted areas? Do we need to allow the drone team time to get that authorization? And again, another future effort is the MapStore training. So we are finalizing some of our training materials to provide that to our staff so that we have kind of a PDF tutorial. And we've actually, MapStore has training available already So it's fantastic that we could just kind of modify that to our customized implementation so that we had like the screenshots from ours, but they actually have a really good structure already. So you've got the PDF on the left, and then on the right, we actually have a learning management system that we went through and created a tutorial. And I think this is my last slide. The future focus, like as I mentioned, is the enterprise GIS. So this is a very simplified graphic. We've got, a database. We actually have several GIS databases. So just kind of linking those together so people have access to that data. And we want for MapStore to be the front of that data. Front, regardless of where the data is coming from, that people can access that through MapStore. Yep, and that's it for me. I'll hand it off to Tom.
All right. Thank you all for joining. Well, I'll give my second to share my screen. I've been with the Park District almost 13 years. I kind of started as an intern as the GIS department was transitioning to being completely open source. So when I first started, there was a bit of mix of Esri and open source products. And now we use QGIS for our desktop GIS, and away we go with MapStore. So just kind of starting at our landing page, I'm just going to kind of try to show a couple different examples of maps we've created, and then also other contents like dashboards and GeoStories, as well as some of the features that GeoSolutions has helped us implement with our support contract. So you can see as we there's not much content if you just kind of go to the page without a login. So that LDAP integration with our Active Directory is key to kind of unlocking all of the resources we want available to our staff. So we'll see here, I will log in with my real login, and okay, away we go. So now you can see the number of maps jumped to 32. I'm an admin, so I actually see all. So any map that's created in MapStore ends up in my portal here. And just to kind of show the way the LDAP is configured, if we go to the accounts, so the basic in our Active Directory, it'll just take the initials of the user, and we have the LDAP configured to pull in the division numbers of the staff. So that's a way we could manage content if we only want natural resources for instance, to have access to certain data. We can restrict it at the data level in GeoServer, or we can restrict it at the content level for a map. So I guess I'll just get started with maps. So this is just our basic base map. It uses OpenStreetMap data for the roads, and then we just have like our park boundaries in there, trails, stuff like that of interest. And then one really, this is a feature that we've been asked for years. Now we have there's a search by location. I think by default it uses some OpenStreetMap search engine, but you're able to customize it with WFS services through GeoServer. So we're able to tailor that to our staff needs. So usually people are going to want to look for a specific park site or an address or a parcel number, or they might just want to see a particular city or a reservation. So that's all possible in here. And here, just to show you kind of one of our reservations is Bedford Reservation. So we can have them ordered in kind of a spatially logical way. So if we want to pull up the reservation as total, we can do that, or we can look up by municipality, or it'll also, I also have it configured to pull every site within Bedford Reservation. So if we want to go to a particular place in the park, it'll pull us right there. Another great benefit of this tool is the ability to set bookmarks. Now I love this feature because typically people, if we're doing some kind of planning processes, we're going to be jumping around from park to park. So I was able to configure each of these bookmarks to each reservation. So you don't have to like kind of navigate the map manually to get to where you want to go. We could just switch down to which reservation you want to go to, and you're right there. Another kind of customization we did was the print configuration. Now, if we go to the prints, now this is where these custom scales come into play, because we have a lot of engineers, architects, they want to print to scale, like things need to be printed to a specific scale. So we have that common scales that they use. That's all built into this. And so they can move the map around. We can change the DPI if it needs to be higher resolution. You can give the map a title. We set up special templates for use in this. So I'm just going to give it a title, demo map, and then you can include a legend or not. So we can hit print, and then that'll just kind of create our map, and that'll have our logo on there. Oops. There we go. Whoops, got a little click happy. So yeah, this was just kind of the custom template we set up. So it'll pop the title in there. If you need to add additional information, we could have a subtitle. It puts the date the map was created, a scale bar, and then our Cleveland Metroparks logo. So that's just kind of baked into the template. And then we also have a few paper page sizes, 11 by 17, 8.5 by 11, and then 24 by 36. So that's all baked in there. So that's kind of just some of the basic features we have set up in our kind of just general base map. I think I'll show an example of an inventory that was created. This is a historic and cultural resource inventory. Now this, we configured this so if someone wanted to search for, because we had a consultant using this to search for, they had to go back out and assess all these locations in the park. So they were able to search by like an ID if they were looking for a specific ID, or they could just type the reservation name and pull the full list of features. And then we were able to pull, images in when they were available. And then we kind of set up all the content that would show up for click events. So that's been a great benefit, especially being able to embed images. That's been great because people in the past, we've had to like provide links, which would send them to like an external link, which, I mean, it worked, it was just kind of clunky. So just having the image embedded in place and the feature info panel has been a great benefit. Now, to show another map, I'll show one more here. Now this was kind of actually an intern was working on a project and they wanted to examine the proximate principle. So this was, we just kind of added this like info panel to kind of explain what was going on the map. But basically we were just looking at the residential parcel values from the county data to look at how the values differed based on the proximity to the park. So we'll close that. And we just set up these widgets. So by default, I have these configured to use the 2023 data for parcel data. And this is looking at the average parcel value. So the first is within 500 feet of a park. The second is 500 to 1,000 feet within the park. And then the last class is 1,000 to 2,000 feet. And if we kind of zoom in, it'll become more clear, the various zones that we've defined. And then as we move the map, these widgets are going to update. So this was just a way to provide all the parcel data, like kind of in a visual way where they can kind of scan around the area and examine trends that they're seeing. And then another part of it was so they could actually go here and then download the data, export the layer as a shapefile if they needed it for an application, or they could actually just do it as a CSV if they were working in Excel. So that was a great way to just share information and just have it all just in one place. And that's another way we can just look at the attribute table. So I think that's the last map example I'll show. I'm going to jump over to a dashboard now. That's actually one I pinned to our featured content because as kind of Laura alluded to earlier, there's one question I get more than any other. It's how many miles of trail do we have? And it's not always phrased the same way. It might be how many miles of this particular trail do we have, or how many miles of trail do we have in this particular reservation? There's just a lot of permutations of trail mileage questions that I get all the time. So if I go to my dashboards, I will go to this. That has saved me a lot of work. This is our trail dashboard. It's linked to data directly in our PostGIS database. So as I make changes to the data, which trail data does change a lot, it just persists right to this dashboard. So I don't have to worry about updating it anywhere else. So this gives our total trail mileage. It gives our breakdown by type. So all-purpose trail, which is like on a paved biking trail. We have bridle trail, and then hiking, walking trails, and then mountain bike trails. And then we can kind of create pie charts to kind of visualize kind of the different groupings of trails. And then down here, I just kind of have a summary table. So this is where it's all summarized by reservation with all the various categories shown above. And then you're actually able to like sort the table as well. So if the question was like, which reservation has the most miles, you could just do a quick sort, 43 Brecksville reservation. So it's a quick way to get answers to common questions. I'm always pushing people to this resource, and it's definitely been latched onto. Here I was just flexing with pie charts. So I don't know how necessary this was, but so just for each reservation, I just kind of did the breakdown of trail use by type. So, and then at the bottom, again, not sure how practical this is, but this is summarizing our trail mileage by various, so it could be paved, unpaved, or we could do the breakdowns by the types identified above: all-purpose trail, bridle trail, hiking, mountain biking. And this is just linked to this map down here. So as I move the map around, it'll update all the figures. So if we were looking in a specific area, just kind of summarizing like how many trails are being offered in this area, or how many miles of trails are being offered. So that's been like the main dashboard I've created that I just love. It's been a huge help and asset to the park district. And then I will not save that. And then the last content type that we'll jump into is GeoStories. Now this kind of, let's see. So this one was used for presenting various projects going around the park district for planning and design. So we could kind of script the map, like where we want to go, and have all this content with the project come up. It was a great way for just if we're presenting to peer agencies or even the public, just to be able to have all the content organized, so we can have like all the project information in this panel. Then we can also embed like documents if we needed to see like more detailed content for the project that wasn't available like just on the base map. So this is something that we plan on updating now. There's our Cleveland Metroparks website's being updated now with new projects. So we plan to follow up that process and just kind of bring this back up to date with most current projects. But it's worked great for sharing with peer agencies, especially. Now that was kind of my really quick tour of kind of what we've done with MapStore for Cleveland Metroparks. I mean, I can probably sit here for hours and talk about it, but I think that will suffice if we want to kick back to Ryan.
Yes, thanks, Tom. Thanks, Laura. Absolutely fantastic demonstration. And and showcase of how MapStore can be used internally in a local government type operation with a lot of data and a lot of content. So thanks for that. Really cool stuff. One question I guess I have, just kind of kick things off. You know, from the beginning in working with MapStore, implementing MapStore, working with us, I guess what have been the major challenges that we've worked on to help you get things where they are now? Or I guess what were there any obstacles that you know, or difficulties that we helped get through to get things to where they are today?
Oh, sorry, I lost my screen here. Yeah, so one of the difficulties was kind of getting geo web cache set up with our custom map scales. So that was kind of a new feature that GeoSolutions worked on us with, and actually kind of shared some of the cost in implementing that feature. So that was because the cache just wasn't working with all these custom scales that we had initially. So that once we got that set up, the map started loading much faster, and we got to a point where it's just ready to use at any facility across the park district, regardless of bandwidth. So, because we have a lot of sites where it's like 10 megabytes per second, like it's really slow speeds. And if the geo web cache isn't like working properly, then it wasn't going to be usable in certain facilities. So that was one challenge that we've overcome, and we're really, really happy with the output from that.
Very nice. I want to remind attendees, feel free to post questions in the Q&A tab, and we'll kind of start marching through these as we go. Again, fantastic demonstration. We'll start with the first question up top. Alessandro, is the custom search option part of the default open source MapStore package?
Yes, the answer is yes. It's part of the default open source MapStore product, core product. You need to have a WFS compliant service compliant with the OGC standard to serve the data you want to apply the search for. But from MapStore side, the answer is yes. There isn't any need of further development. You just need to have a MapStore core product.
Excellent. Regina asks, is there a way to embed one of the MapStore panels on a public web page?
When Regina refers to panels, I would imagine it refers to a live map. If in that case, the answer is yes, it is possible to embed. If we can, I'm not sure if Tom I can guide him through, but there is a share button on the sidebar on the right. I see that Tom is sharing. Is the fourth button from the bottom. If you can click on that, there is a share tool, and it's possible to have multiple ways of sharing the map. Yeah, I'm not sure if, well, I can share my screen and show that in dev if it's possible. Someone needs to unshare the screen though. But the answer is yeah, okay. So what I was referring to was this button here. So I just open up a demo map. To show where. So this is the share button. If I click on here, there is the embed possibility of having this snippet of code can be embedded into an existing web page. In any HTML code would accept that. I imagine if this was the questions that was asked. So this is answered.
Okay. Regina also asked, how is GeoStorage used?
Well, yeah, sorry.
I'm not sure if she's referring to the Cleveland Metroparks demo and specifically how they're using GeoStories.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, I was just going to say GeoStories is designed to be a multimedia content type visualization tool. So you can bring in video, non-geospatial data and tie it into, a story basically, similar to a story map, but with some other capabilities and dashboard functionality built in.
Yeah, you can
go for it.
Yeah, I'm going through one of the examples that we have on our dev map store. This is just a story that was created for demo for showing the various locations, holding different information for astronomical observatories. I made one today for a UNESCO websites, which is possible to combine images of the UNESCO websites in Italy and scroll through them and provide some information. This is for example for public use, for promoting some territory and enticing people to visit. In this case, an area, certain monuments of Italy. In this case, is probably to provide visits or more insight for scientists that want to know a little bit more about astronomical observatories around the world. Having a look at the map with some features in it may be nice, but it might not give that full insight to people that are not probably proficient in the use of GIS maps. And this is a little bit more compelling methodology of offering special content and and combining it with non-strictly special content. So I would think that this is the answer that I can give to Regina's question.
Perfect.
How is it used?
Alessandro. Thanks, Regina. Question from Matthew. How much of the demo products were developed internally versus helped by GeoSolutions?
I think this probably is more of a question for Tom and Laura to answer. I would think what demo products are what are referring to. Maybe the products that Tom and Laura showed.
Yeah, I'm assuming they're referring to the Cleveland Metroparks demo.
Yeah, if we're referring to like the contents, the various contents, then I would say what I've shown was kind of exclusively created in-house. So any of the maps, GeoStory dashboard, there was demos provided for each case to kind of give us the lay of the land. And then we did have like a closeout meeting after everything was deployed to kind of run us through how everything works. But yeah, we just kind of ran with it from there and opened up support tickets when we ran into snags with any features or anything like that.
Fantastic. That's how it's done. Another question for Tom and Laura. Are you using vector tiles at Cleveland Metroparks?
No, not at this time. We're not.
Let's see. From Subadip, it's a great project for both non-technical person and developers start from a base template. He wants to know how to develop custom apps with it, and is there a free crash course related to that? So I'm assuming that he's asking for documentation and resources, maybe on the MapStore community site.
Yes, I am going to share these in the chat. Just we can go along with the questions, and as soon as I have 3 minutes, I can share with Subadip some links, some useful links you can find in the chat. Just give me 1 minute, I'm going to get them.
Fantastic. Another question relating to styling. The styling looks great. Is that also part of the standard MapStore package?
So the styling for the maps that we showed, that's all kind of controlled on our GeoServer. So for a lot of the styles that we do, we actually generate in QGIS. So we create a map in QGIS, and we can, if we find a style we like for a layer, we can then export that as an SLD and load that directly into GeoServer as a style. If the question was about the contents.
Yeah, I think that's good. A great question related to integrating drones. How do I integrate drone with the application of MapServer?
This is a question. I mean, there is a way of doing that, but I don't think we have. How we're going to do it is a solution that we need to kind of study with the customer according to the data that he has and according to this state of the art of their data. It is possible to do it, but I'm not going. It is really hard for me to tell them here in this question how we are going to do it. We can say that, of course, we can do it. You can get in touch with info@geosolutions.com. We have already done, and we are in the process of doing this with one of our customers in the US. And of course, yeah, it's something we can start discussion with, but unfortunately, this is not the right. I mean, I cannot really give more than this in this opportunity, in this event, more than this answer.
Yep. Thanks, Alessandro. Understandable. In general, if there are any questions that we can't completely cover today, feel free to email us at info@geosolutionsgroup.com, and we can have a separate call to dig into further details. Regina has another question. What does using the APIs do?
The APIs, I mean, MapStore has and offers some APIs with it. It offers some APIs to change some of the configurations. So it's possible to change configurations from, some commands that are given through the REST API, if you're talking about a REST API. MapStore has some functionalities for the authentication authorization REST API through their authentication authorization engine, which is called GeoStore. And I think that these are the APIs that MapStore at the moment can offer. I'm not sure if that was the question or if it refers them to other types of APIs, probably it's referring to Geo APIs. So I'm not sure. I mean, I assume we're talking about a REST API. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And Regina, just reach out to us. You know where to find us, and we can talk in further detail. Another great question, kind of along the lines of future development, or I guess, recent developments with cesium, et cetera. Any example using 3D data available? What kind of 3D data are you using or want to use?
So yes, we have examples of 3D data available. Let me just bring it in some links that I can offer to the customer. What kind of 3D data are you using and we want to use? So at the moment, we support shapefile, GeoJSON, that can be ingested and transformed into 3D data, and the 3D tiles, which is becoming, and we are supporting it, even starting supporting on the newest version of 3D tiles, which is becoming the open source standard. And these are the data that we want to use. Of course, we are ready to listen to our clients and customers if you have if they have the need of using other formats, but at this instant, these are the formats that we offer with MapStore. As for the examples, just at the end of these sessions, I can provide some links to Panagiotis to show them some demo data that we have with MapStore and 3D data.
Excellent, thanks, Alessandro. Regina, clarification on her question regarding APIs. I think she was referring to an iframe and an API during the sharing map portion of the demo, or the map share, if that makes sense.
Yes, we can take this offline. We can take this offline, and I can give you an answer offline, or I can provide some documentation about it. I will be able to give you an answer to Regina as soon as we finish this session.
Excellent. Next, the final question I'm seeing here. I have, let's see, I can't use an SVG symbol in the web maps because it doesn't load them. How can it be solved? And that might be another technical question that we should take offline.
Yeah. The first things that we could ask, not here, it's what is there any error message that you get? We can consult, at which level this error appears. I would imagine it's when you visualize the map, having a look at the network tab and see if there is any error appearing in there to track down First of all, at which part of the pipe, let's say, of flowing of information this error is happening. It might be a browser-related error, it might be a server-related error, it might be some sort of permission issues. You know, the first thing to do is to kind of grab some information, because if something is not working normally, there is a really small hint to understand where the error is, and then of course investigations to go deeper in that.
Excellent. I think that's it for questions from what I'm seeing. If there are any last minute questions, we'll hold off for 30 seconds to a minute or so. Again, I want to thank Tom and Laura very much for your demo. Showcasing what we've been able to build for Cleveland Metroparks is a great example of how MapStore and other open source geo software packages can be utilized in local governments and other organizations. So thank you very much for showcasing and sharing your creation today. I think it's very valuable for the audience. And thank you very much to the audience for hanging out with us. We really appreciate your time. I know it's pretty late or pretty early for some of you, depending on where you're at in the globe. But as always, thanks for joining our webinars. We continue to host webinars about one a month or so. They're always in-depth, technically oriented, and hopefully relevant to the community and to supporting your use of open source software. So stay tuned on our blog and on social media, and we post registrations for upcoming webinars.
Ryan, before you close, there is one question that I would like to answer from a very, very last one. Is there is an anonymous attendee asking us where is GeoWeb Cache in their overall architecture on a separate node? The answer is yes. GeoWeb Cache is a component of GeoServer. It is something that stands on the server side and manages how GeoServer produces, stores, and serves tile cache data. What MapStore stands in the line is then you can recognize whether the tiles are coming from a compatible, let's say, service that serves tile data. It can be a WMTS, for example, but really MapStore, what MapStore can do is, well, there is a function that can decide whether we want or not to retrieve cached data, even if the data on the source is cached for any number of reasons for the client. But in response to the customers, if you want to create tile cache data, that is done on web cache, which sits server side, namely GeoServer. That's all. So yeah, I think it's finished.
Yeah, thanks again. I posted the email address. If anybody has any questions beyond what we were able to cover today, feel free to email info@geosolutionsgroup.com. Thanks again to our very special guests, Laura and Tom, and to Alessandro for guiding the tour. And yeah, thanks everyone for joining. We look forward to seeing you on the future GeoSolutions webinar.
Very much. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
See you.